Good evening to everybody. Welcome to another edition of Libertas. This is Tonino Habana. Our guest for tonight is a retired general. He's a former AFP Chief of Staff, in fact, the 38th Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the first Mindanaoan Chief of Staff. He's currently retired, but he devoted 38 years in public service, government service, most of which in the military. Very well respected, honored, and bemedaled general, a lot of experience. He also became an ambassador after retirement. Please welcome General Alexander Yano. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Tonino, and good evening to the listeners.
Oh, mga kasama, if-flash natin yung telephone number dyan. Pwede kayo mag-text ng mga katanungan and join our discussion. First of all, siguro pag-usapan natin, General, kasi very interesting yung binanggit ninyo. How you entered the AFP and the PMA first. And I understand before you joined, you were in a militant student organization. Paano ba nag-shift yun? Aktivista kayo tapos sumali kayo sa PMA?
Yes, Tonino, I was an engineering student sa Cebu at that time. That was really the ambition, and that was also what my father wanted me to pursue. 3 years ako, naging 3 years engineering student ako sa civil engineering sa Cebu. And I was so involved sa student movement.
What attracted you to join these militant student organizations?
Siguro the idealism, the usual idealism of the youth, at saka at that time kasi that was the in movement.
Okay.
No? So,
parang nasama kayo ng mga kabarkada
almost everybody.
ninyo.
Ganon,
Yeah.
no? So kasama ako at a very young age. I think I was only 16 years old. So nasama ako. We were very active then. In fact, my studies suffered. Marami.
Masali kayo sa rally, nababato kayo ng mga
boycott classes.
boycott classes.
So, ang studies ko suffered actually, no? Drop, incomplete. So, I was an irregular third-year student then. So, sabi ko, malalaman din ng parents ko after 5 years because ang engineering is only a 5-year course. On my 5th year, pag hindi pa ako mag-graduate, malalaman din. So, one time, the PMA cadets went to Cebu and they were doing a silent drill exhibition. So, I was so impressed. Nakita ko sila. So, sabi ko, maganda rin siguro. They were distributing application forms. So, I got one and decided to take the exams. Then, when I passed, that was complete turnaround, 180-degree turn. Dahil nung pumasa ako, I asked my parents. So they were, my father really wanted me to pursue my engineering course. Ayaw niya na pumasok. But my mother, sabi niya, kung anong gusto ng anak natin. Yan ang, so she was very supportive.
So you came from very humble beginnings. I mean, your parents were both public school teachers from Sindangan. Diba?
Yes,
Taga-Sindangan kayo, Zamboanga del Norte,
Zamboanga del
very
Norte.
near Dipolog.
Yes. That's south of Dipolog. Our capital is Dipolog. Yes.
So, General, sumali kayo sa mga militant student organization, sumali kayo sa PMA, nag-graduate kayo ng PMA, na-commission kayo in the Army.
Yes.
May mga naka-enkwentro ba kayong mga dati nyong kasamahan sa leftist groups na naging katunggali, kaaway nyo na, di ba, nung naging military na kayo?
Yes, there were a few personalities that I met. Not necessarily very close to me during those student days, but we had the same experiences, the same school, the same era. And yun, very interesting. Nahuli sila and our intelligence units were able to get them. Nakakausap ko sila and we shared reminisce those days when we were both students. Very interesting. He was on the other side. I was already on the other side. But I think we share the same idealism.
So, anong pagkakaiba? Because when you were a student, active activist, student leader, I'm sure they were trying to indoctrinate you on the ideology of the left.
Yes.
And then you joined the military, and then you had a different set of ideologies that were given to you. So ano naging what did you find out about yourself, about learning this
We had, for sure, we had the same objective, for the good of the country, for the good of the people.
So doon nagkakaisa.
Iba yung, kakaisa. But
Okay.
The means in pursuing those objectives, medyo nakakaiba. Yung mainstream government, of course, iba yung pasok natin. The other side naman, iba. So we shared just the objective.
Okay, pero you were against, of course, when you joined the military, you were already against the armed uprising by the NPA, and then the the agitation that they're creating in order to lead to that armed uprising.
That's correct. That's correct. There are other ways and means of doing it, and as I've said, the mainstream government approach.
Okay. So General, so na-assign kayo sa Samar where you encountered more insurgents, di ba? And then can you tell us some interesting stories you've had leading soldiers into the battlefield?
Yes, Tonino. My first field assignment was actually in the north. I was assigned in Isabela province, and that was also at the height of the insurgency movement up north. From there, I also served in the headquarters in Camp Aquino, Tarlac, which covered at that time the whole of northern Luzon. And for a time, I was also assigned in Samar, also at the height of the insurgency movement in Samar. And I saw the situation, especially doon sa mga malayong lugar, napakahirap na lugar.
So, naintindihan nyo ba kung bakit sila nag-aklas, kumuha ng armas at sumama sa naintindihan nyo ba yung pag-iisip ng mga taong gano'n na sumali sa MPA?
Yes, lalo na yung mga nasa baba de masses. Some of them had no choice. Some of them were forced by the situation. Poverty, for example, injustices that they suffered. And most importantly, there's a movement, an organization which has an ideology that is directing them. No? So it's not just pure and simple grievance, but there's an organization that's...
Yun ang objective
yun
nila.
at saka yun ang naghihikayat.
Naghihikayat.
No? So because I don't think that poverty alone, there are a lot of people or countries which are even poorer than us. But if there's no organization or movement that siya ang naghihikayat, it will not happen.
Yeah, sir. The other thing I wanted to ask you is regarding the solution. The solution, of course, is not military, as we all know. What is the solution to the NPA insurgency problem? Now that you're out of, you served for 38 years in the government, tapos you served in the field, you saw the plight of the masses, you fought with the enemy, with the insurgents. What's the solution sa tingin ninyo?
Tonino, I would say that it's a complex one.
Yes.
We have not totally eradicated the problem for the last more than 40 years, 4 decades. And of course, the type of governance that we give, the services that we give to the people is one. Then, of course, makita natin yung injustices. Kung minsan, even if you're poor, but kung you see na you're given what's due, you, okay lang, no? But yung injustice, yung bang you feel na wala kang magawa sa mga ginagawa na hindi tama sa iyo. That's one grievance that is very hard to undo.
Yes.
So yun, and of course yun nga yung sinasabi ko, there is an organization that's really
agitating
with an
them.
ideology that's leading them.
Yes.
No? So it's not just the grievance itself. kagaya ng mga nasa bundok o yung mahihirap nating mga kapatid, no? They accept sometimes yun na talaga they have been there since birth. Para sa kanila, yun na. But once there's an organization, geology that's trying to convince them to follow that path, then yun ang problema.
Sir, I'd like to, we're going to go for a break and then I'll show you this video about yung pinopromote namin na resort, yung sa Camp Kanawan. But before we go for the break and show the video, I'd like to read this text. Kasi yung nag-text, mukhang kilala kayo eh.
Okay.
Good evening. How true is it that General Alexander Yano plans to run for mayor in his hometown in the 2019 elections? Is it not a hindrance of his stature as perceived to be an elite, having been in the highest post in the military or chief of staff to serve the masses of his town? So, don't go away. Ayan yung tanong. General Yano and I will be back. This is Libertas, Tonino Habana. Welcome back to Libertas. This is Tonino Habana with our special guest, former Chief of Staff, General Alexander Yano. May nag-text kanina before the break. May balak ba kayong tumakbo doon sa hometown ninyo sa Sindangan, Zamboanga del Norte?
Siguro masabi ko, Tonino, that may be part of the plan. No? It's premature siguro to divulge. Wala pang filing, wala pang campaign period. But I would say that that's part of maybe a continuing public service. No? I've been in the service mostly from the military and diplomatic service for 38 years, and wala na sigurong ibang except to serve. No? Walang mababa para sa akin to say that going there or running for whatever position at the local level na mababa, because to me, serbisyo is serbisyo. No, there's nothing mababa about it. Even if I came from a national position, but service is always service, especially to my hometown.
Oo, kasi doon kayo pinanganak, doon kayo marami kayong kamag-anak doon, and you've seen the town. You probably know what the town needs.
Correct.
In order to progress.
Saka parang payback. Paying back to the town, the people na pinanggalingan mo, what I have been, what I have become. I think I owe this.
Napaka-noble naman nung ano na yun. Kasi karamihan ng mga tumatakbo, hindi yan ang, yan ang reason. Kayo, iniisip nyo tumakbo dahil you've reached the highest stature in public service, the highest position in the AFP, you've learned a lot, you became an ambassador, and you're aspiring to pay back yung town ninyo by applying yung natutunan ninyo to the town.
Tama,
what you've learned.
Tonino. So,
and then yung mga connections din.
Yes, correct. No. At saka hindi ko iniisip na yung titulo or whatever.
Oo.
Even if I came from that high position in the past, sabi ko nga, it's just a service. It's just a service.
Very, very humble po si General Yano. I've known General Yano for so many years, and sa totoo lang, walang bahid na kahit anong anomalya or anumang kontrobersya yung kanyang serbisyo sa military, sa bayan. Sir, what was the hardest crisis that you handled in your military life?
Of course, as a young officer, there were some skirmishes.
Okay.
These are mostly physical in nature. But as I grew up sa service, one very important event that I cannot forget, yung Kabatangan crisis in Zamboanga City. I was then the Task Force Zamboanga Commander.
Anong year po yun?
That was 2001, November of 2001. Yung nangyari kasi na yun, I was the Tactical Ground Commander nung nangyari. That was the time na ang Southcom Commander then was General Shimato. So we worked together in Zamboanga City. Ang mayor ng Zamboanga City was Tita Kaling, the old Lubrigad, Mayor Lubrigad. Ang nangyari kasi doon, it was not purely a military problem. It was more political than military. Because nandoon na sa enclave, which is Kabatangan, inside Zamboanga City, ang MNLF. Ang MNLF had an office. Parang opisina nila yon. But actually, that was used as parang fortress. No? Nandoon yung mga armas, gano'n. But we already forged an agreement with the MNLF, the government, I would say, in 1996. So they were not, technically, they were not enemies anymore. They were friendly forces at that time. But at that time, in 2001, Ms. Suarez's tour would have ended, but perhaps he wanted to be governor on holdover capacity. So, nauna nag-attack simultaneously ng mga military camps in Hulo, and within the week doon, sinunod na lumabas sila and they attack, got out of their enclaves Kabatangan, and atake sana sila. And we confronted them, and when they were cornered, they had to take hostages in one of the subdivisions. So, ganon ang nangyari. It was, to me, it's a complex problem because we cannot just, attack proactively because we were actually friendlies or friendly forces then.
Sir, how many people died there? Kasi may nag-text dito, may collateral damage ba si General Yano?
There were only very few. I think I would say
from
on
civilians?
the side of the civilians, perhaps not more than 10. Of course, on the part of the MNLF, there were some casualties. Soldiers, about five, because at that time, we had a crisis committee headed by the mayor. And the decision was, to us, a win-win solution. They were allowed to freely get out of the city, I mean the MNLF, in exchange for the hostages to be freed.
Sir, yung issue na yan, like the MNLF has been, you've had that crisis, and then in 2013, there was another crisis involving the MNLF where a group of them attacked Zamboanga, and several blocks of the city was destroyed because of the fighting. Then there were issues where MNLF will get involved in attacking camps and so on. So do you think they're really serious about the peace agreement that they signed, or it depends on what position they have? Like in this case, parang nag-alboroto si Misuari yata. So what do you feel about this group? Are they really serious? Are they in control of their men, or?
Perhaps not really totally in control, but one aspect here that we must consider is in any negotiation, peace dealing with any group, we have to consider disarmament, decommissioning of forces, because if they still have firearms, they still have an armed group within them, then it will be very difficult.
You mentioned something very, very interesting because in our peace agreement with the Tripoli agreement, which led to the creation of the arm, they were never really disarmed.
Yes, yes. In the part of our agreement with the MNLF, disarmament, decommissioning of forces was never part of the agreement.
So this is the reason why they always have a chance to create trouble. I mean, there was another issue or another crisis that you had to face, which was, you know, after the rejection of the MOA IAD at the Supreme Court in 2009, yung grupo naman nila, Commander Bravo ang nagwala.
Yes, yes.
So may area ng Lanao del
Yes,
del
I was
Norte.
already, Tonino, I was already the chief of staff when that happened, the collapse of the MOA AD at that time, and there was simultaneous war in the Lanao provinces and the Cotabato provinces. So I had to confront that.
So, based on what you're saying, kung may peace agreement, pag hindi mo naman i-disarm yung groups, rebel groups, then there's always a chance na some breakaway faction, some rogue faction will create trouble.
That's correct, Tonino. I think in a peace agreement, DDR, or disarmament, decommissioning of forces, reintegration of forces should be a necessary part of the peace agreement, because we cannot have peace if you still have an armed group.
Let's move now to the recently signed Bangsa, Bangsamoro
Organic law.
Organic law.
Yes.
Doon ba sa organic law, merong decommissioning, merong laying down of arms?
I am not really very sure in the law, but in the comprehensive agreement of the Bangsamoro, the mother agreement, the CAB or CAB, that's supposed to be part. The DDR, they say the DDR, but the idea here, I think the provision is the decommissioning of forces will happen only commensurate to the commitment or what the government can give. So there is no specific timeline. So the government must have to comply with certain requirements, and corresponding to that, the MILF will also little or gradually decommission forces.
This is the dilemma, actually, of military personnel, especially those assigned in Mindanao. So we have a firearms ban. I mean, civilians are not allowed to carry firearms, and yet there's so many loose firearms in Mindanao, in many parts of Mindanao. And so how does the government enforce the law if there are many armed factions roaming around? Paano ang naging response ng military doon sa ganung sitwasyon, sir, nung time ninyo?
Yun ang totoo na, and that's one of the reasons of why there is always violence in the area, proliferation of loose firearms. And in Mindanao, we have a lot of that. No? So that has to be solved, not only among recognized rebel groups, MILF, and the bigger groups, no? But even among, at that time, some groups, warlords, political warlords, and some private armies. I think that's already reduced by now. But yun ang problema natin, because they become spoilers even in the peace agreement or peace effort with other forces.
Sir, last year we had the Marawi crisis, which was really a terrible situation where the whole city was destroyed. And, they were, apparently they were building up arms dun sa city, di ba? Of course, a lot can be attributed to, they're saying, failure of intelligence by the PNP and the AFP. But it's also a failure of the community to report what they were seeing. Because they were seeing a buildup of arms doon sa Marawi. Do you feel that the people in the Muslim areas are really just supporting these rebel groups? um, over the AFP or over the PNP?
Sometimes we can attribute to some cultural issues. For example, hindi siguro nila masyadong may report yan because they feel that these are part of the clan,
May
part of the
kamag-anak sila.
family. If they report and something happens, something negative happens, then nandyan pa yung part of the culture, yung sinasabi natin rido, family feud, clan among families. So siguro yun din ang na hindi sila ganon cooperative in terms of reporting to government and authorities.
Anyway, we'll be going for the break. May nag-text dito, taga saan daw kayo, General? Binanggit natin kanina, he's from Sindangan, Zamboanga del Norte. May nag-text, tinatanong kayo kung anong hometown ninyo.
Yes, that's in Zamboanga del Norte. We are, my town is about 1.5 hours from travel from Dipolog City. That's south of Dipolog, our capital.
Okay, we'll be going for the break. We can pick the General's brain a little bit more when we come back. This is Tonino Habana. Welcome back to Libertas. This is Tonino Habana. May nag-text dito kung pwede daw haluan ng Tagalog para maintindihan kasi maraming nanonood from Mindanao, General. So ang tanong ko ganito. So pinag-usapan natin yung nangyari dun sa Zamboanga during the crisis sa Kabatangan, and then yung 2013 nangyari na naman yung and then the loose firearms, which you said na if there's going to be a peace agreement, kailangan merong laying down of arms. Kung hindi lagi magkakaproblema. Okay. Now we have martial law in Mindanao. You're from Mindanao. Hindi po ba nasusolusyonan yung loose firearms sa Mindanao dahil martial law tayo ngayon doon? Dapat pinapayagan na magkaroon ng loose firearms doon sa mga area.
Siguro sa other groups, except itong mga malalaking like the MILF, we have considerably reduced on that aspect. But itong big groups, it's actually a big private army that will be part of the agreement. Sana yun ang...
So yung bagong batas na pinirmahan ng Pangulo, baka sakaling that will lead to disarmament. Because pag wala naman kasing baril, magbabatuhan lang sila, magpupukpukan lang, magbubugbugan. So walang mamamatay halos.
Saka kailangan dyan the sincerity, the trust and confidence ng both parties, no? So, kung ma-decommission, ma-disarm, and they will transform into a political party, be a productive part of society, instead na
so, instead na magpapalitan ng bala, magpalitan na lang ng argumento.
Correct. They can enter politics and they can join the mainstream politics.
You're a native of Mindanao. You were chief of staff for a long time. You were in the military. You were assigned to a Muslim country as an ambassador. How would you gauge yung militancy ng Islamic groups sa Mindanao from the time you were serving until now? Is it getting more militant or is it getting more moderate? Ano po ang observation ninyo?
Ang aspect kasi that we also have to consider yung what's the development in the international arena.
Okay.
Yung terrorism, for example, that's not only happening sa Pilipinas, kundi in other countries will have some impact.
So, na-export dito minsan?
Correct. And
may mga agitators
if
din.
we still have groups nandito na sympathizing with other international terrorist groups, then madali.
So, in other words, sa sinasabi niyo, sir, pagka walang foreign intervention from these militant or from these extremist groups, hindi masyadong maapektuhan yung mga kabataan sa Mindanao.
Yes, correct. But, you know, even yung ating technology ngayon, we have social media
Oo.
and television.
Nakaka-access sila.
Oo, nakaka-access yan. So whatever is happening in other parts of the world, nakukuha din nila yon.
The other week, there was something very chilling that happened in Basilan, sir. I think you're aware of that. We've had the first case of a suicide bombing doon sa isang checkpoint sa Basilan. And it was reported that a foreigner was involved. So, sir, do you think there will be more of this? Magkakaroon pa ng copycat suicide bombers na dito sa Pilipinas? Or is this just a one-off case?
I'm not really very sure. I'm not confirmed kung talagang it's a case of a foreigner doing a suicide mission dito. But if that's true, that's quite disturbing. But nasubukan na nila yan. There were foreigners before in Camp Awang sa 6th Infantry Division natin.
Opo.
Na pinasok na nila ang kampo. And in a suicide mission, they were killed, of course, but they were able to kill some of our soldiers. Suicide yung, and I think the reason is gusto nila ipakita sa local groups natin that this is the way to do it.
Okay.
But until now, nobody followed their example. So I think it's cultural on our part na hindi natatanggap natin yung suicide mission. So kung ganun lang sana, okay lang. But we hope that in the future, hindi aabot sa ganun. Because kung ganun sila ka-dedicated and passionate in pursuing their goals, then it's very difficult, really. It's very difficult to counteract those actions.
Meron pong texter dito, I always remember Ambassador Yano as the man who paved the way for Cebu Pacific Airlines route to Brunei, that we enjoy lower fare until today. Many more accomplishments during his short term as ambassador, also to mention his presence in basketball, bowling, and other sports. Kilala ho kayo siguro nitong nag-text.
Yes, correct. That was during my term when Cebu Pacific opened the Manila-Bandar Siribigawan route, and it benefited many OFWs. It's cheaper.
Yeah, so maraming salamat sa inyo for doing that for our OFWs in Brunei. During your time as Chief of Staff, did you expect China to be aggressively building and claiming those shoals in the West Philippine Sea? Nung time na yun, may indication ba?
There were already indications.
Opo.
In fact, they occupied some, but not as massive as what's happening today at the present time. So there were indications in the past.
And during that time, of course, our military capability is very limited, especially in confronting a giant superpower. In your opinion, sir, ano ang dapat gawin dun sa sitwasyon doon sa West Philippine Sea? Should we buy more frigates? Should we buy more vessels to be able to patrol our seas? Ano ang dapat hong gawin?
It's quite a complex
of course, I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah, but I think doing or confronting China militarily is not the only way to do it. There are other combination of approaches. What we term as smart power, the combination of soft and hard. For example, alliances with countries with the same or similar interests with us. That's one. Some diplomatic approaches. So it's not always war or military solution that we know. Pursuing our claims in other ways, legal, international standards, the conduct of international, for example, laws. These are some of the pressure that we can exert against a country as big as China.
That's really a complex problem, and like you said, it has to involve all types of possible solutions,
Correct.
concerted effort, from diplomatic to making alliances to maybe business solutions also.
It's what we call soft and hard power.
Soft and hard power. Opo. So sir, you're retired. Ano bang mga activities ninyo as a senior citizen? You look very fit. I mean, I heard na when you turned 60, you wanted to prove to everybody that you could still do 60 push-ups. So, nag-viral din yung video na yun. So, what have you been doing, sir, as a retired government servant?
I am still quite busy in many ways. No longer purely military affairs, but I've been involved in teaching. No, nagtuturo din ako sometimes in the Command and General Staff College, Armed Forces. These are lieutenant colonels, the incoming battalion commanders and their equivalents in the other services. Sa National Defense College then, I'm also involved in the Development Academy of the Philippines. I also have some duties. And in some alumni affairs, both in my civilian school and in the military. In fact, I am now the incumbent chairman of the Special Forces Alumni Association. We have a nationwide organization where we have, as of now, 13 chapters buong Pilipinas. No? Ito yung mga graduates ng Special Forces. It's a specialized course in the Army. So, sa physical, of course, I maintain my exercise through biking, mountain biking.
Oh.
I have a group. We have a group of mostly mga retired military and police officers, and of course some civilian businessmen kasama namin.
Sir, in your whole career as a military officer, as a soldier, what do you think has been your biggest contribution to the service? Ano ba ang, if there's one thing that you were able to contribute to the service, ano po yun sa tingin niyo? Ano ba yung naging contribution?
Siguro, Tonino, I wouldn't say na ako lang. No? It's really a contribution as a team of really doing all efforts na to professionalize the armed forces, our officers and men. No? That's very important. No? Dahil even if we have all the high-tech equipment, kahit gaano kaganda ng ating mga equipment, the war material that we have, what's important is the men, personnel behind the equipment.
And I think we are all witness to the way the military has been professionalized over the last few decades. Kasi ngayon iba na talaga ang tingin ng tao sa military.
Tama yun, Tonino, and it has evolved into a very professional armed forces. So kaya yung the past armed forces natin, of course there were a lot of misgivings, maraming propaganda noon against the military. It's no longer the present armed forces of the Philippines. That I'm very proud that it has evolved through the years. We may have contributed some in the past, and all the previous commanders. It's a continuing program.
Sir, for being our guest and taking the time out, I'd like to give you this gift certificate from Vine Holistic Aesthetic Clinic, and they specialize in anti-aging. So you can have your gift certificate and your consultation there at Vine Holistic Aesthetic Clinic. And sir, I'd like to give you this opportunity to address the young men and women out there, to give your words of wisdom and your parting message, sir. Kasi patapos na po yung show.
Okay. Maraming salamat, lalo na sa ating mga tagapakinig, and sa amin makita natin na we are already in our, we are about to fade away. Siguro meron pa kaming may offer na serbisyo, but we look forward to the contribution of the future generations, yung ating mga kabataan, in whatever activity, whatever profession you have, na makakontribute sa sa ating minamahal na Pilipinas. Because to me, kami makabigay ng guidance, kami makabigay whatever tips, whatever experiences that we have, we can share. In fact, in my own little way, I have 2 books na pinapakita ko lang what I have done and what I continue to do from humble beginnings that I have. I also have my own museum in our province, really to inspire the young people that we can do something, even if we come from simple beginnings. We can contribute much to our country, to our own community.
So maraming salamat po, General Yano. Si General Yano po ay anak ng public school teachers. He rose from the ranks, nag-aral sa PMA, became the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. Thank you to everyone. This is Tonino Habana signing off. Good evening. This is Libertas. Thank you.